Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Welcome and welcome back to another Scale Up Milwaukee event. Today we're doing Meet the Masters with Craig Culver. As you all know, Scale Up Milwaukee is an initiative of the Greater Milwaukee Committee, and we exist to support growing businesses with an understanding that growing businesses generate inclusive economic prosperity. We've been around since 2013, and we are excited to share with you that to date we've helped create 600 jobs. That's pretty exciting. And we understand also that talking about growing businesses, talking about how to grow businesses is going to catalyze and invigorate even more growth. So that's what we're going to do here today. I hope you understand that this is at best a facilitated conversation, if not just a conversation amongst friends. I have some questions, I've prepared some material, but at any time, please do let me know you've got something to say or something to ask, and we'll make sure that you have your moment in the spotlight. Is that good? Great. First things first, we're going to watch a movie.
I saw this already before. Oh, wait a second. Yeah.
What do they know? So I'm happy to introduce you to Craig Culver, co-founder of Culver's Franchising System, Inc.
That's right.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Morning.
So I got to tell you, like I told you earlier, I actually moved here from New York City. I did not know about Culver's. I was a devout consumer of In-N-Out and of Shake Shack. I had been to, eat burgers on both coasts. And I move here, and I keep seeing these blue-roofed restaurants all over the place. And finally I went in and I had this Butterburger. And like that guy said, oh my God. For me, there's no more Shake Shack. There's Culver's. So after seeing that, what do you think?
I like you a lot.
Yeah, right? Good. Flattery will get you everywhere. So you see that. You see them saying, oh, this place goes head to head with restaurants that are younger, that are actually smaller, that are nowhere near the level of customer service that you offer. What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, In-N-Out and Shake Shack as well, I have great respect for those companies. Another one I have great respect for, even though they don't sell burgers, is Chick-fil-A. They're a family-owned business, like In-N-Out is a family-owned business. We're a family-owned business. Shake Shack not, but they're all very respectable businesses. So to be compared with them, that makes me proud. It really does, because I think highly of what they do. But I think of us as a little guy. I do, even though we have 632 restaurants open today, I still will always think of us as this little guy, the little guy that does whatever it takes, never says stop, get knocked down, you get back up again, That's how I think of us, and that's how we started. We started as an independent with our first restaurant and our first 3 restaurants, and then we did the franchising thing in 1987 or 88, and I failed with our first franchising experience. I said I'd never do it again. And I did. 1990, we opened our first successful franchise restaurant.
I'm not going to let you breeze through the story that quickly, that easily.
But go ahead.
Let's start at the
I'm not sure I answered your question.
Yeah, well, there was a very beginning, right? There was a very, very beginning. I Love Lucy premieres on TV, and Craig Culver is born, right? Into a family of risk takers, into a family of entrepreneurs.
My father, not my mother. My mother was born on a dairy farm in central Wisconsin, one of 13 children. I swear my mom has the first, my parents are both deceased now, but I swear my mom had the first dollar she ever made. But Dad was a risk taker.
Yeah.
Dad was an entrepreneur. That's the way I define entrepreneurism, as somebody willing to take, a calculated risk, not just a risk, but a calculated risk, and they don't believe they can fail. They just don't believe it. They don't necessarily see all the pitfalls out there that are going to stop them. They see this thing and they're going to go. And that was my father. And of course, Mom and Dad together were like this, because they were a team. Mm-hmm. They were a team as a family, and they were a team as in business as well. And I'm a mix of both of them. I'm probably not the entrepreneur that my father was. I developed that over time, but probably not as much of a risk taker as my dad was.
So when you're working in the family restaurant, so the family buys a restaurant, 1961, right? They open an A&W.
Yeah.
You're just a kid, and you're working behind the counter illegally, I might mention. This is it's got to be terrible. It's got to be the worst thing ever. It's, working in the parents' business. You probably used to love hamburgers and cheeseburgers, but now you've got to eat them every day because it's what mom and dad are cooking.
It's tough.
So, tell me about going from working for your parents, watching them work so hard, and you're quoted as saying, "I had no clue what my dream was, but my dream did not include the restaurant business." So somehow you went from flipping burgers for your parents to having this crazy idea that you're going to buy back a restaurant that the family had sold.
That's right.
Try it again, sell it.
Again, yeah.
Recover the restaurant and start Culver's. What happened? What was the shift?
Growing up in the business with my family, I watched my parents work so darn hard. I did. Early in the morning till late at night. It's much like farming. It's 7 days a week. It's early in the morning, late at night, and I watched my family doing that. And I was part of it as well, even as a youngster. My brother was 9 when we opened the A&W, so that was really illegal. But I just watched them work so darn hard, and when I finally graduated from college, it took me a semester or 2 longer than most, but I finally graduated, and at that time we owned the Farm Kitchen Resort, just at the north entrance of Devil's Lake State Park, and Dad saw something in me that I didn't see. I didn't know anything about passion at that time. I'm not sure I ever used the word, as a matter of fact, but Dad saw something in me that I didn't even know existed in me. And he asked me, he was failing, or his health was failing. He was going blind. And he didn't think he could operate the farm kitchen on his own, and he asked me to be the general manager of this wonderful place. And I said, no way, Dad, absolutely not. And it's one of the great regrets I have of saying no to my father when this opportunity was plopped right in front of me. And I said no. Well, he said, okay, I'm going to sell. And I said, fine with me, go ahead. I don't want to be in this business. And guess what? I went to work for McDonald's. And so I've been in the business ever since I was 11 years old.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. I don't know if it's amazing, but I have been in the business ever since.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love it.
Yeah.
I do. And I love the food aspect of what we do in a restaurant setting. But the thing I really love is the interaction with the people, whether it's our team members or our guests. We have, and this is something I talk about a great deal with our managers and owners of our restaurants. We have the opportunity to make a difference with each and every guest that walks into our restaurant. But we also have the opportunity to make a difference with our team members as well. I like to talk about touching tables. And you know, in the restaurant business, it's literally the host or owner going around the dining room, touching tables and how is everything? Well, I believe you also have to touch tables with your employees as well, with your team members. And if you don't take them seriously, if you don't respect them, good luck.
So did you learn that while doing, or did you learn that working for other folks?
You know, my mother was the great example in my life, and she was the hostess with the mostest, so to speak. And we've got an award at Culver's, a hospitality award, and it's named the Ruth. And that was Ruth Culver. And Mom was that great example, even though I didn't realize it at the time. She was just my mom. But when I started to grow my career and look back, wow, she was something. I mean, not only was she, you know, when people would walk into our place of business, like she was wrapping her arms around them. Not literally, but figuratively, she was wrapping her arms around them, welcoming them to our place of business. They felt like they were home. And not only, you know, my mom was a beautiful lady and dressed beautifully, but that didn't stop her from getting down on the floor, cleaning the floor or toilet or bus tubs, carrying them back to the kitchen. She was a great example, yet I didn't realize it at the time. She was my mom, you know, but I figured it out later on in life. I said, wow, that was something. And not only was she an example for me, but my brother and sister, but all of our team members at the Farm Kitchen and other businesses. But she was also an example for all the guests visiting the place, because you don't necessarily expect the owner to do these things. And when you see the owner doing these things, wow, you know, that's impactful, I believe. And you know, one of the things I tell our managers and owners is, you're always being watched. It's like you're on stage. You know, really, it's like you're on stage, and people are watching. When you walk down the street somewhere outside of the business and you see a piece of trash, are you picking it up or you just walking by? You know, people notice those little things. They do, and so I've tried to lead by example as well over the many years,
and it's been quite successful.
You know, success is a thing that I don't talk about a lot, because there's always the next day. Yeah. And you always got to keep performing. You can never rest on what you did yesterday. You got to keep charging and charging ahead.
So that begs the question. In '84, when you opened the first Culver's, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, just to give you guys a sense, the business in '84, the first year, did $300,000. If that. It lost $40,000.
As a matter of fact, let me just cut in here. We did, July 18th was our 33rd anniversary, and I sent a note out to everybody. I think the first day at Culver's when we first opened, I think we did about $500. I said, I hope you guys do better than that today.
But you know, in '84, $300,000 your first year was not a bad gig.
It was bad enough to lose about $100,000.
Yeah, there is that. There is that. But when you're opening up this place, you brought your parents into the business. You're now married, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing your wife into the business. tell me what you're telling them to give them an idea, especially your parents. Like, listen, I've got something that's going to make this really different. I can foresee 33 years into the future and doing $1 billion and having more than 600 restaurants. What are you telling them?
That wasn't my vision at all.
Yeah, tell me about.
My vision was I got to move back to my hometown of Sauk City and Prairie du Sac from Madison, and that was thrilling enough. Grow the children there in my hometown and be part of the community, the churches, the schools. That was my vision. And I never dreamt, nor did my father, by the way, that we would fail. Never dreamt it until we got halfway through that first year.
Yeah.
And we were on the edge. We were fortunate enough to have a banker that didn't believe in the concept of Culver's, but he believed in us. He believed in the Culver family because he knew us. He'd seen us do what we had done before with other businesses and stuff. So we were, without that banker, I don't know if we would have got to the next year.
Wow. So, but I'm curious, you know, you don't have the idea that you could fail, but you haven't defined what you thought success was, what you thought the grand vision. Is it providing for your family, living near your parents, you know, being a workaday guy?
Yeah, that was success to me.
Okay.
And then I pounded it. I mean, it was 7 days a week. It was, I don't know how many hours I worked. I don't like people to tell me how many hours they work. You know, if you're telling me that, then you probably don't like what you're doing. But I did start to think, well, how can I grow this thing so I don't necessarily have to be there every hour of the day? And I was.
We call that scaling.
Yeah, and I was terrible at empowering other people. I had to make every decision. I did. Because I didn't want anybody else to make a mistake. So in '87, we opened a second restaurant in Reedsburg, Wisconsin. Well, I still thought I could make every decision. You can't be in two places at the same time. And that was a great lesson for me. I had to let go a little bit and empower some people that I thought could handle this. And what I found out was when you do empower other people and they do make mistakes, they correct them. And they grow because of their mistakes. And they grow because of overcoming challenges along the way. I didn't get that before. I just was going to do everything because I didn't want them to make the same dumb mistakes I had made.
So tell me about the very beginnings of franchising. You know, someone approaches you with an offer and you take them up on it, and it doesn't go well.
Well, and that's exactly what happened with our very first franchising experience. I'm not going to mention the community because it failed. 1 year after opening, I was so naive about franchising at that time, and Dad and I, we were so giddy about our first franchise experience that we decided to give it away. We didn't charge the franchise fee, which was $13,500 at that time.
Yeah.
It's been $55,000 now for a long time, but we decided, let's not charge them. It's our first one. That's a mistake. There's no value to something that you didn't pay for. And so 1 year after opening the very first franchise, we got a letter in the mail from his attorney saying my client doesn't want to be part of this story any longer. And we put so much blood, sweat, and tears into opening that first franchise restaurant, and it was successful as well. But then we get this letter, and I said, man, it's not worth it. So we hire the attorney as well. We negotiate out of the deal. He's got to take his sign down, change the building a little bit. Menu's got to change, of course. And I said after that event, I'm never going to franchise again. Well, I did. I did, but it took some time to heal. It did. It took some time to heal, and that's one of the wonderful things about time, by the way. It does heal some wounds.
It lets you forget a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of our conversation, one of the things I'm really hoping is to identify the thing beyond the DNA, right? So there's certainly something in the DNA, in the Culver blood. I mean, you've got a brother who's done okay for himself too, right?
There's no competition there at all.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the brother, Kurt Culver. It's actually interesting if you Google Culvers, what you get is just page upon page of just these guys talking trash about one another and their competition.
Well, he's terrible when he's talking about me. I'm the nice guy.
There you go. There you go. So I want to understand, beyond the DNA, what is that thing in you that makes you want to grow? You know, you've done something wholly unnatural, but you've done it fantastically well. You started in the family business. You said, I don't want to do this. I'm never going to do this. And then you go and do it.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm happy where we are. And then you start growing. And then you grow up quite a bit. You know, in 1993, there were 14 restaurants. They founded in 84. In 93, there's 14 restaurants. And then you said, wait, no, I can keep doing this.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what happened in '93 when we opened those restaurants. We were growing faster than we could handle it.
Talk about it.
And growth is a great thing unless you're growing too rapidly and not being able to handle. We didn't have the infrastructure, meaning the people. And so I made the decision, we're going to stop franchising for 1 year to grow the infrastructure in our company. And we did that. And what I found out, it was one of the greatest marketing tools for growing the franchise, because when you tell somebody they can't have a franchise, they want it even more. And so we had people lined up, ready to sign franchises when we reopened it 1 year later. Mm-hmm. But we had grown the infrastructure and stuff, and we've continued to do that over the years. And one of the great lessons, again, I go back to mom and dad a lot. Because what they did was remarkable as well in my mind. And one of the things they were so good at was surrounding themselves with the right people. People that were talented, sure, but most importantly, people with a heart. People that knew how to say please and thank you and my pleasure and mean it. You know, if you don't mean it when you say those words, then it's awful. You know, it's fake. Mom and Dad found those right team members, whether it was the A&W, the Farm Kitchen, or whatever business we had. And I keep going back to that. And again, I tell that story to all of our people all the time, and how important it is that we continue to surround ourselves with the right people on the team.
Talent and heart, I think that's the right combination.
Obviously, they got to be talented, but if they don't have the heart, then that, in my opinion, that talent can go someplace else.
So when you transition from being an operator, you know, in your chief role, when you might be doing burgers, making sandwiches and shakes, to a franchisor, your responsibilities, your problem sets changed dramatically.
But I didn't give up on the restaurant either. Yeah. I mean, again, I'll go back to being that example. They don't necessarily expect, you know, somebody in that role to get behind the grill or to be out in front. I still do it yet today. I still get behind the counter and such and work with the team. Twice last week I was in the Sauk restaurant working behind the counter and such. I just, that's who the Culver family is. That's what we were. You know, when we go back with McDonald's, when I worked for McDonald's, I worked for them for 4 years, learned a lot, kind of got my business degree from them, learned all about the numbers, which working with the family, I didn't know about the numbers necessarily. I don't remember any income statements, monthly income statements or anything like that. Well, McDonald's was a different story. But working with the family, it was all about being on the floor, taking care of our team members and our guests. I wasn't running around with a clipboard at all. And nothing wrong with that, but that just wasn't who we were. And we were successful even without having a clipboard in hand. But again, the McDonald's people, they had to know the numbers, and I was learned how to give them to them.
You learned how to do that. So at your core, and by the way, please do let me know if you have questions. At your core, are you a financial mind? Are you a marketing mind? Or are you an operator?
Well, I'm some of each of those. I think you have to be, but I think I'm more of a marketing and operator is what I am. But the numbers are very, 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 very important as well.
Yeah, the numbers are wildly important.
Yeah. So I love the marketing aspect of our business, but I love operations as well. And right now, our new CEO, Joe Koss, who's been with us for 20 years, he was a CFO for us for many years, and he is now the CEO. It's the first time we've had a CEO that was not an operator. Phil Kaiser, our past CEO, Phil was an operations guy. I certainly was as well. But so it's a little different mindset at Culver's than where we were in the past.
Than where you were in the past.
Yeah.
I see a question from the audience.
You talked about your marketing mind, and I just saw your commercial with Cal Sherrick. Can you talk a little bit about how you wrapped up even more Wisconsin ties with your brand and how that came to fruition?
It wasn't my idea to ask Kyle to be part of it, but it was our ad agency, Heaving out of Madison, who's a wonderful agency, by the way. We've had the Minneapolis agency, we've had the Chicago agency. Heaving gets us. They're from our area. They know who we are, and they just really get who we are. And I love what they do for us. So it was really their thought to bring Kyle in. We've done a lot of other folks as well, but generally suppliers of ours is who we've used. But we had Tori from a famous Madison chef in as well, and I'm honored that they're willing to do it, as a matter of fact, because we're a hamburger chain. I think a darn good one, but they got to look at their reputation, and could they be hurt by something like that? And I don't think they are at all. I sure don't think so, but that's how that came about.
I'm just curious, when you're traveling, and I know you play a lot of golf with your brother, if and when you meet a stranger who doesn't happen to know your name, and they say, "Oh, what do you do?" What do you say?
I'm in the restaurant business.
That's all you say?
That's what I say, yeah. Unless it goes further, but I'm not going to just spout off.
Yeah, well, I did over $1 billion last year. Just got a few places, about 600. Right? So I found something very interesting. You guys were growing 7 times the rate of other restaurants in your industry, or other shops in your industry. You operate with a margin of 10.5, which is better than essentially everyone except for the Big M. And you're doing better volume per store than McDonald's.
I'm not sure of that, because they're open many, many, many more hours than we are. I think they're around 2.5 is where they are, million in sales, and we're at about 2.3, but we're open from no breakfast. We're open basically 10 to 10. So per hour, yes, we do more sales than they do.
So I find this fascinating because, running the business as you do, at this scale, relates to running a restaurant, running 3 restaurants. In no way. This is an altogether different enterprise. What was your journey learning how to do the business at that level?
You learn as you go.
Yeah.
Really, and you make mistakes along. Just like I said, you learn from your mistakes, and trust me, I've made enough of them. And I've brought in. I'm still an entrepreneur. I'm still a risk taker. I've brought in products into Culver's, today we test things to death before we bring them into the restaurants, and that bugs me. I see something good, let's go with it.
Yeah.
What are we waiting for? I still have that mindset, and it bothers some of the team members on staff and stuff, but that's just who I am, and I don't want us to lose that entrepreneurism, that risk taking. I believe that's very, very important. Again, calculated, but I don't want to lose that. Regardless of where you are in the life cycle of your business, I hope you don't forget about being an entrepreneur, taking a risk, taking some chances here and there.
You send your franchisees through a lot of training, a lot of work. They've got to have $500,000 in assets. They've got to spend a good amount of money to actually open a store. They've got to work for 60 hours.
Well, we have what we call a discovery week, and that's when somebody's interested in a franchise. Pretty rare in the business. I don't know really anybody else that does this, but somebody's interested in the business. They haven't signed a franchise agreement with us yet. They are asked to come in and work in one of our restaurants. It's a 60-hour work week. That's what we used to call it. Now we got a fancy name, Discovery Week. They come in and work 6 10-hour days, and they're interviewed during that time by our team members, and then we have to make a decision at the end of the week whether this is good for them or good for us. It's got to be a win-win for both. And if somebody doesn't want to do it, they can walk at any time.
How many people walk?
Not very many. Very, very few.
Yeah.
But once in a while it happens, but that's a good thing, because we certainly don't want to get them into the system and then this isn't what they want to do. So Discovery Week it has worked really, really well for us. And
how often do you find yourself with an aspiring owner who you decide, they don't have the sauce?
Well, I'm not in that decision. I don't make those decisions any longer, but I used to interview every single person, and I'm pretty good at that. I can measure a heart, I think, in a short period of time. But our team is also very, very good at it too.
So you said something very interesting, though. In this room, there's a number of owners, and there's a consistent theme that you keep bringing up, which is the people component.
Yeah.
Right? Surrounding yourself with people with talent and heart. So I'm going to challenge you, if you can, to share with us a question or a tactic for really assessing talent and heart in a meeting. Is there something that you like to do or say that?
I'm on the board of Quick Trip, and a wonderful company, by the way, and I think they're going to be coming into Milwaukee in a little bigger way, buying PDQ, but not something that I've necessarily done, but something they do when they're interviewing their team members for a new hire, and they will ask, well, tell me about something that you've made a difference in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or tell me about something good that you've done in the past, and some questions like that. And gosh, if somebody can't answer that question in a positive way, it's probably somebody you don't necessarily want in your. That's measuring heart, is what it is. But I just feel I can get a good read on a person just by a general conversation.
I love it. So just to support that, as much as we'd like to think it's all about the food, our business is really about people.
It is.
Which I really. Please, we've got another question.
Great, thanks for being here this morning. I grew up working in a restaurant too. You may remember Amato's Holiday House.
Yes, I do.
On
I
Park Street.
sure do.
And I grew up working there. I didn't start my legal career quite as young as you, but let's say it wasn't long after in terms of what age I was. But I think I hosted for several years, and so you meet hundreds of customers every week. We had a big fish fry on Friday night.
Yes, you.
And as you know, and I've been to your original restaurant too. That's the first place actually I ate at Culver's was at the original. wondering what you would, when we talk about changes to the economy, the service economy, and I hire a lot of folks and have over the years. I look at resumes, when I see somebody who worked in the restaurant business, or who was at it as a server for a couple of years, I pull that resume, because I know they know how to work.
Yeah.
And that's a general rule, you know, more than anything.
People say the same thing about farming.
Yeah,
They do.
Yeah, you gotta put the hours in, yeah. And, you know, we talk about the service economy and the growth of that and things like that. And probably harder sometimes to get folks and do restaurant work sometimes, because it is tough. And yet I go into your places, I travel the state a fair bit, and consistently at every single restaurant, the employees are great, they're very good with customers. I kind of don't feel, once I get past ordering, that I'm in a fast food restaurant. And which I assume is what you're driving for, and I'm really.
You know, it isn't what we're driving for. You know,
No, I mean getting away from.
but oh, yes.
That's what I mean.
Because if we are a fast food restaurant, we are the slowest fast food restaurant in the world. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with
It's a
because
great experience. I mean, honestly, it's a good experience being in there, and you don't feel as though you're in that atmosphere or whatever.
well, thank you.
And but I'm wondering what lessons, to your question about lessons, you impart to folks who are kind of starting on that journey, on that restaurant journey. Because I think it's important, as I look and hire people, when I see people that have been through that experience, you notice the difference, I think.
Well, those people that you're talking about in our restaurants, we won't have those positive people if we don't have positive leadership. It's always a reflection of leadership, always. I've got a degree in biology, in the sciences of all things, not business, not hospitality, but in the science world, positive attracts negative, not in the people world. Positive attracts positive in the people world. And if we don't have positive leadership, then good things won't happen. And that's why we do what we do. And we have the reputation to attract positive people. And that's why we do turn some people away, because we don't think that it'll be good for them or for us in the long run. The last thing we want is a failure. And we don't want somebody to fail. No way. And fortunately, we've had only a couple out of all those restaurants that have failed over the years. And generally, we bought that restaurant and turned it into something good.
And unfailed it.
And unfailed it, yes. Yeah.
Got it.
I was curious
Craig.
in terms of the training.
Did you just call me Kurt? She called me Kurt!
Either of you. Don't tell him. I was curious about training. I worked for McDonald's in the late 80s.
Did ya?
And, yeah. Actually, no, I take it back. In the late 70s is when I worked for them. And I went to Hamburger U. And they
Me
were
too.
big in leadership development. They were doing transactional analysis training with their managers then. Fred Turner was the CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that type of level of training and development, and what do you do within your own restaurant?
Well, training is key. I mean, first of all, we got to attract the right people, and then we got to train those right people. And so, in our case, with franchisees, when they go through training, after they've gotten through that discovery week, and we've decided we're going to sign a franchise. Both parties have said yes, that franchise will be signed, and then they go. We have 3 classes a year. We just graduated a class last week, as a matter of fact. Then they go through 17 weeks of training with us. 16 plus the discovery week. 12 weeks in the stores and in the classroom in our family-owned restaurants, and then they will open 2 restaurants after they get done with the 12 weeks with us. And so then they're, in our restaurants, they're all trained people they're working with, but when they go out to open a new restaurant, that's a different feeling for them. And they all come back, well, when I open my restaurant, we're not going to do it that way. And then they open their restaurant, they do it that way, But so they get a lot of training. Going back to, I hate to go back to my parents all the time, but I think it's important. when my dad first bought the A&W in 1961, there was no training like this whatsoever. They bought it. The guy they bought it from was supposed to stay on for 2 weeks training with them. He never showed up. So they figured it out anyway, but that training aspect, and it can't stop. Even though, you know, we've got an operator that's gone through 16 weeks of training and finally opened his store, it still takes a year, at least a year of history behind that operator after the store is open to really get his or her feet planted solidly on the ground. But then we've got ongoing workshops all the time as well. We've got a lot of face-to-face time. We meet quarterly with all the restaurants in different market meetings. You know, FaceTime is something I talk about a great deal as well. You can spend as much time on your phone and stuff as you wish, but there's nothing that replaces FaceTime. Nothing replaces looking somebody square in the eyes and having a conversation. And so the training, yesterday we've got a management workshop going for 3 days, and it's an entry level for managers, and I always speak to them on the first day and talk about our history and where we've been, where we're going, and things like that. We've got something going on at our support center all the time with training. So training is very, very key. That's what I'm trying to tell you, and you know it already. By the way, you were with McDonald's in the glory years when Ted Turner was there and stuff. I mean, a great man. Yeah.
I have to go in something of an order.
A trend I've noticed recently with McDonald's and to a lesser extent Burger King is some of the transitioning to the automated kiosks
Yeah.
and replacing counter staff with these machines in to some degree to defray
Labor.
increasing labor costs. I mean, do you see an environment where you might have to go that route?
We have tried that in the past, not to get rid of employees, but it didn't work for us. And this was 6-7 years ago when we first tried it in our Middleton restaurant and I think one other restaurant. And see, I'm a hospitality guy. I was just talking about face-to-face time. I love that. I don't want to see that go away. We will look at things as far as mobile ordering and some things like that. I think we have to, because that world is, you know, it's changing. It really is, and I think we have to be competitive there. But I don't want to lose looking somebody in the eye and taking their order and saying thank you to them. I just don't want to do that. And however, I'm not in charge any longer, so, but that's still my mindset. It still is.
Your name's still on the sign, so.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done a great job exporting Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Custard and cheese curds.
And people, by the way.
20 years ago, I'd be down in Florida. You'd never see a custard place, and I'd ask
No.
people about it. They didn't know about it, and you really didn't think about it, but now you're there. Was there trepidation in taking Wisconsin out of Wisconsin for success? And then what do you attribute that success to? You're first to market in a lot of these places with your unique products.
Yes, we are. The first store out of the state was just outside of Minneapolis in Buffalo, Minnesota. And you know what? It worked. And then the next one was Rockford, Illinois, or Roscoe, actually, was the next one out of state. And it worked. And what I tell our people is, though, caution them, just because we put that blue sign out there doesn't guarantee you anything. What the guarantee is, if you're taking care of your operation, you're taking care of your team, you're leading your team. That's the guarantee. If we're doing that, then I believe we're going to be successful no matter where we are. However, our philosophy on growth has been to grow contiguously like this. So not just, okay, let's put one in California. Hey, we should have one in Hawaii, or we should have one in Alaska. Let's go to New York. No, we grow like this, so we take the brand along with us rather than just jumping some long ways away. I did that. 21 years ago, I jumped to Texas. What was I thinking? I jumped across a whole bunch of states. My sister, who was living in Texas, she wanted a store in the Dallas area, and I had another gentleman, formerly from Chicago, that wanted to put one in Austin. I said, well, geez, 2 stores? Hey, how can I go wrong? Well, I forgot how big Texas is. And still, Texas has been hard to grow for us. We still only have 12 restaurants in Texas. It could handle 500 restaurants, probably. But hopefully we get there at some point. But yeah, I believe if we grow it with the right people and we take our brand along with us, strong chance that we're going to be successful at it. Very strong chance.
We can take one more question and we'll have some time after as well. Please, Mark.
Well, I have a question. It's probably on a little larger scale than specifically with the restaurants and operating. But most of the people in here know that there is particularly one organization that rates Wisconsin last every year with regard to startups and young companies and bringing them through. What do you attribute some of those difficulties to, and what would some of your recommendations be on that statewide, political, business, just all that level to help a leg up for startups?
Well, we're between 2 behemoths, Chicago and Minneapolis. And where's the money spent? It's spent in Minneapolis and it's spent in Chicago area. So we lose out on some of that. But I believe things are changing. I do. Your city here in Milwaukee, I've seen so many wonderful things happening over the last 10 years. Some really good, right here, this building, or these different buildings around here, the Iron Horse Hotel and different places like that. You've got some big condo centers going up in downtown and North NML.
Yeah.
I mean,
NML.
they've done a bunch of wonderful things. You got a lot of positive things going on. And Madison does too. And you know, the food scene in Milwaukee. Milwaukee has always been great for the food scene. But what's happening to those old German restaurants? You know, something else is coming in. And a lot of it, the food scene is wonderful here. And again, the same thing as Madison. So don't sell Wisconsin short, is what I'm saying. We're okay. We're probably never going to keep up with some of those places. We just don't have the population base that they do. But we're going to be okay. And man, I'd take a chance on Wisconsin, and I have. I have taken a chance on Wisconsin. I believe in Wisconsin. I believe in our people. You know, as we export cheese curds and things like that, when people see those things from Wisconsin, they think quality first. That's what they think. And the same thing with our people. We've got a lot of quality here in this state, and we got to do everything we can to continue to grow that. I don't think we have to make any rash decisions or do something silly. I believe we continue as we go. I really do. And I think good things will happen. And they are happening as well. You know, I said, when you mentioned exporting different products from Wisconsin, well, we are exporting people as well. I can't tell you how many people from Wisconsin that are now in Florida or Arizona or different places like that. And I've joked that the governor has sent me a letter saying, hey, quit exporting our people. But honestly, we really have. And one of the beautiful things about that, and many of them have worked for us for years. They're young people that started with us when they were 15, 16 years old, and now they're owners of their own businesses. And the beauty of that is they take our culture along with them. And we benefit so greatly from that.
That's what I was going to say, is you talked about products exported to Florida. But actually, and this is when you talked about your advertising company in Madison getting it, it's Wisconsin nice that you're exporting. And
Yeah.
That's kind of that thing that I see when I've gone to Culver's in other states. It's Wisconsin nice, and that you only can get from Wisconsin.
So I'm
Minnesota will give you an argument on that. What do they know, huh?
So
Don't
I'm-
repeat I said that, okay? Got a lot of restaurants there.
I'm gonna take a facilitator's privilege, if you will, and wrap. But I have an important question. I'm driving to Detroit today, and I'm certainly gonna stop and eat at Culver's because this conversation has made me hungry. But so years ago, I was in Portofino, Italy, and I was actually participating in a sailing regatta, right? And so I was around a lot of fancy people, and we're doing exactly what you do in Italy, which is eat a lot of gelato. And it made me think, wow, there should be custard here, there should be Culver's here, you know, thinking in hindsight, right? Mm-hmm. The question is, how do you come up with all these incredible flavors? And when are you going to get there?
You know, all the flavors, I mean, we got 100 and some different flavors that the operators can choose from and make up their own as well. But, you know, I still kind of go a little old-fashioned. I still go back to the basics for me. I love butter pecan, butter brickle, you know, the old-fashioned flavors like that. Caramel cashew, caramel pecan, you know, those are the ones I
All
truly
flavors
love.
with butter as a main ingredient.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, there's a theme here. So this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate your time. What I heard today was a consistent theme around people, around, you know, the phrase talent and heart is something that I'm going to carry with me at least for a little while until I can absorb and put it into practice. So please join me in welcoming, not welcoming, and thanking Craig Culver for his time today. So, as usual, we have just a couple of announcements. You all have evaluation cards, and I'd hope that you'd fill those out honestly. If you have suggestions for others that you'd like to see participate in this program, please do write them down. Be ambitious, be unrealistic. You'd be surprised who we can bring in, you know, including folks like Craig. So, thank you so much. Is there anything that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm going to throw a plug in for my friend Carl Kopp.
Who?
Competitor. Carl is one of those guys. If any of you, some of you probably know him. He's in Elsa's or one of his restaurants. And here's a guy that believes in quality.
Yeah.
And a great competitor on the custard side. But here's a guy that puts his apron on and he's out there in the dining room cleaning tables and doing whatever. Kind of reminds me of my mother in many ways. But Carl's, you know, his influence on me with the custard, he was, you know, he was important to me. He was a mentor, so to speak. And how I really got interested in custard, though, was going to Leon's in Oshkosh, where I went to school. Of course, there's Leon's in 87th in Oklahoma. I know right where it is. But Leon's in Oshkosh is how I really got hooked on frozen custard. This stuff was so darn good. And so years later, I finally did it. So.
Can you get by with walking up to Leon's now? Somebody take your picture.
Well, if Ron's there, no. Do you know Ron Schneider? Ron Schneider, he's the owner there.
Yeah, we know of Ron. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we'll make an invitation right now. If we can get Carl to participate in this, would
and,
love
and
to have you
I don't
sitting.
know if he would, because Carl is, he likes to stay to himself, pretty much, but you should.
It might matter who asks him.
Yeah.
We'll discuss. So please do fill out your evaluations, and we'll continue talking after. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
A lot of fun.
Thank you. All right, get to work, you guys.
Thanks so much. Pleasure meeting you as well.
Pleasure to meet you as well. Say hi to my brother when you see him. Okay.
Good luck in your tournament, too.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks so much.